Okay, and we're back now with Cammy and Chun to show off a couple of different points here because aside from the fact that I'm far more familiar with Cammy in this game than anyone else, I mean, who doesn't want to look at Cammy and Chun while playing this game? I mean, come on, don't you want to check that out? Check that boobs. Oh yeah. Creepy voice. Alright, so let's talk about knockdowns. Now, we've talked about this in the past, and especially in this episode like 5 seconds ago, what to do in this episode when you get knocked down. But I haven't talked about what happens when you knock other people down. What to do there. What to do about continuing pressure. Okay? So, the thing you want to do with knockdowns is you want to do what are called mix-ups. And Cammy in this game is the queen of mix-ups because she has a really bad cross-up. Just like Ryu that we saw before, have really good cross-ups. They can get a lot of damage off theirs. Cammy's only cross-up that isn't a special move is her jumping light kick. And it's really bad, as you can see, because it's very shallow. Like, that just clean, from this distance, it just clean misses. Well, that one didn't. But any closer, and it totally will. See? So, have to be very particular about spacing, and it has very little stun on it, and there's very little ways to get damage off of it. So, as a result, she has other ways of getting damage that come from mix-ups. Now, what is a mix-up? A mix-up is simply where you just make your opponent continue to guess what the fuck you're gonna do next. Because you don't want to do the same thing over and over again, because doing the same thing over and over again is a guaranteed way to get your butt kicked by a reversal. So let's look at something what we can do after a knockdown. So after a knockdown, obviously, you don't want to just continue your pressure like we saw before. You want to be able to do other things. So the first thing we can do after a knockdown is we can reduce the chances of them being able to do a reversal. And that's by doing what's called a meaty attack. Now, a meaty attack is where you time your attack to hit them just as they're actually waking up. So Chun's actually gonna, let's actually turn off the block here. So we knock Chun down, we wait for her to get up, and then we kick her in the face just as she comes out of her wake up animation. And what that'll do is that will actually stuff a lot of moves that she can do. Now, obviously, it won't stuff moves that have invincibility like we showed off with Ryu, because you always have to take a risk when you are attacking. But in this case, it is minimizing the risk that you take greatly, because unless she is using a move that has full invincibility on it, it will just get stuffed and it will allow you to continue your offense. And the advantage of it as well is that it also ignores any of the setup frames that you have for your moves, any startup frames I should say, are obviously not taken into account because you're doing those startup frames. Startup being the animation that you have before the move becomes active, so before her legs come out and before she kicks someone in the face, those are the startup frames. When she throws a punch, as the arm comes out, those are the startup frames. As it hits, those are the active frames, and as her arm goes back, those recovery frames. Those are the 3 different stages of the moves. I don't want to go too much into detail on this. It's very easy to look up how startup, active, and recovery frames work, but I hope that I've explained them well enough there. So that's what your meaties are. You want to time your moves to hit so the active frames are in their face just as they come up from the knockdown. Alright, so let's say you got your meaties down. You want to look at more ways to keep your opponent guessing as to what you're going to do. Well, we looked at this in the previous episode, but you can go for obviously a throw. Now, throws are kind of boring, just by themselves. Throws aren't really that great, and as I said before, they can get stuffed by jabs, they can get stuffed by invincibility moves, they can get stuffed by a lot of things. So what you want to do is, if you want to get really tricky, is you can make your opponent block before you do the throw. Now this is a little bit tricky because you have to time the throw to catch them just as they're done blocking, because you cannot, in this game, you cannot grab an opponent who is blocking. Your animation will just pass through them if they are in the process of blocking. But if you make them block and think that you're going to continue attacking and then grab them, that's what's known as a tick throw. So if we set Chun-Li here to guard after the first attack, watch what happens. We knock her down. We make her block the meaty because she saw it coming and she thought that we were going to continue our offense after we did the meaty, but instead we grabbed her and went for a throw. Yeah, very sneaky, huh? Dirty tricks. Ah, that's what you saw there. What you actually saw was I did the grab a little bit too quick, She wasn't done blocking, and as a result, the grab actually went through her. See, I meant to do that. So you do have to wait a split second before doing the throw, which obviously, again, there is a slight risk involved that they may try to woof out a move that has invulnerability, but as I said, it's all about risk versus reward, and this is a low risk, high reward strategy for getting a throw, getting another knockdown, and starting the whole mix up all over again. And that is ideally, with most characters, what you want to be doing. Alright, so you got your throws, you got your meaties. What else can we do? Well, as I said, Cammy is the queen of the mix-up in this game, and a couple of them which I'll show to you right here that are very easy to do. Obviously, this will vary from character to character, how much mileage you can get out of this, depending on whether there are characters who have these kind of mix-ups available to them. But Cammy is really very much about attacking from the opposite side of the opponent whenever possible. So we can do a knockdown and do our spin knuckle, which will pass straight through the opponent. Now again, spin knuckle is a risky move because it is projectile invincible, but it is not hit invincible. So that whole animation where she is spinning towards Chun-Li, she is vulnerable to getting punched in the face. But however, if we knock down and do it so that the animation is happening while she's getting back up, suddenly that threat is removed. We don't have to worry about being hit during the startup of the animation because Chun-Li is still on the ground. So we can time the spin knuckle to connect when she gets back up, thus giving us a lot more advantage and removing a lot more of the risk of the move. And of course, because Cammy is now suddenly on the other side of Chun-Li, Chun-Li has to block from the opposite side. It keeps her guessing, it keeps her on the defensive, which is what we really want with a character like Cammy, because Cammy, at this range, Cammy's no good. We need Cammy to be in their face to be able to get our damage. Alright, and the last way of doing it, again, similar thought process behind it, is the hooligan combination. Now, Cammy has 3 different hooligan combinations, but the best one, in my opinion, is the medium combination because it will go, if I do it right, to Chun-Li's far side. Again, making Chun-Li block from the far side again instead of from the front. So what you can do is a cannon strike from that side. So if we go for a knockdown first, as she's getting up, do that hooligan combination into cannon strike. Again, Chun-Li has to get blocked from the other side, but more importantly, she can't hit us while we are traveling to the other side. Alright, the next thing we want to talk about is spacing. Now, spacing is something which is very, very important. It is critically important to this game, but it's something that's very hard to understand, especially when you watch high-level Street Fighter. When you watch high-level Street Fighter being played, which is something that I don't really offer because I'm not high-level, but if you watch it being played, you'll see so much of people doing this. Walking back forward, back forward, back forward, throwing out a punch, throwing out a kick, and it just connects in midair. And it's one of the problems that esports have for Street Fighter and other fighting games in general, that this kind of business goes on a lot before you get to the actual, in-the-face combat portion of the fight, which is much more interesting. And people just wonder, why the hell are they doing this? What the hell is going on? I don't understand. It's all this, and this is the spacing. They're controlling the space between Cammy and Chun-Li to make their moves most effective, because you'll remember in the first episode, I did say that it is very acceptable and plausible to be able to win a fight through 1,000 cuts, which means you can just chip away at your opponent just by knowing the actual range of your moves and being able to then, in turn, maximize their effectiveness. So they'll be moving in and out, just to try and get to that perfect range that you saw there, where Cammy touched Chun-Li just with the very tip of her foot. Right there. So that is the spacing game, and it is so important in this game because space is your lifeline, it's your lifeblood. It is what is going to allow you to control the pace of the match. And the reason for that is that you can't see it right now because obviously we're in training mode, but we have a timer in most matches. And as the match progresses, the timer goes down. And when the timer hits 0, whoever has the most life wins. And now that may not seem very interesting because most of the time the fight is over well and truly before the timer hits 0. But to high-level players, or even players at a medium level, they are always very aware of the timer because whoever is lower on life obviously cannot afford to let the timer run down to 0. So if a person is running away, or even is just keeping them at length with these kind of moves, they know that the longer that the timer goes down, the less time they have to try and get back in the life lead, and the less time they have before the timer hits 0 and they lose the round. So if you have the life lead, you can actually hang back and force your opponent to come to you, which is a huge advantage because when they're coming to you, it allows you to react rather than risking yourself and putting yourself in the compromised position by attacking and allowing them to react instead. So that's something to always be aware of, is the timer and the space between you and your opponent, because you don't have to press the advantage. If you have a good portion of life more than your opponent and there's only 10 seconds left on the clock, you should be hanging back. You should be either making them come to you or just making them accept the fact that they're going to run out of time before the round ends, and they might sit back and just do special moves, try and build up a little bit of meter before the next round. But that is the power of spacing and the timer. And more to that is that if you're playing as characters like Cammy or like Zangief or anyone else who is a melee-based character who does not have projectiles, the last place you ever want to be is in the corner. And Cammy can walk you to the goddamn corner. She has a very fast walk speed. As you can see, we are covering ground very quickly just by walking. We don't even need to dash. We can just walk and cover ground at a very fast rate here. So if we knock Chun-Li down and walk her to the corner while she is knocked down, which is a pretty dirty trick, but you can definitely do it with any character, suddenly Chun-Li finds herself in the corner. Now, I have all this room to work with. I can stand back here and do all my moves that have the right range and things like that, and really take advantage of that spacing where she can't hit me, but I can hit her. Whereas Chun-Li, on the other hand, has no space to work with. She is trapped in the corner and has to just basically sit here and take all these moves that I'm doing to her until she finds a way out of the corner or is lucky enough to do a reversal that will buy her a little bit of space to get out of the corner. So the last thing you ever want is to let yourself be walked into the corner by a character who feeds off of that, because once you get in the corner, oh my god, the pain train pulls into the station. It is nuts. So that's just something to be aware of, is that the corner is a very scary place. I'll try it one more time. There we go. It's a very scary place to be, and you should never let yourself just be walked in there, because that is always to the advantage of your opponent and not you. Alright, and the last thing that I want to talk to you about today is the V cancel. Now obviously we all know what our V trigger is. We have to press heavy punch, heavy kick to go into V trigger state, which will give us abilities varying from character to character that will allow us to hopefully seize momentum of the match and really press home the advantage. Now in Cammy's case, it allows her to pass through her opponent and attack from the far side, like we see here. Now what I see a lot from players who are very new to the game or don't know how to really utilize the V trigger is that they'll just be, you'll be just doing your own thing, attacking, maybe getting a knockdown or whatever, and then from over here, boom, V trigger, and there's suddenly the threat of V trigger is on the table, and then they press the advantage. That's fine. If that's the way you want to activate your V trigger, that can work for different characters. Obviously for Ryu, activating V trigger from a distance can actually be advantageous because he can start storing up his Hadoukens to work on guard crushes and things like that. But there is a way I should say, that you can get much more mileage out of your V trigger. So I'll just use it up there. And that is a V cancel. Now there are moves which you can do in this game can actually be cancelled by a V trigger to allow you to extend your combo or just apply extra additional pressure. Now in the case of Cammy, as I said, she can pass through her opponent. Alright, now as I've shown you before, a basic Cammy combo looks something like this. Alright, basic Cammy combo, does a decent amount of damage. However, what happens if we want to extend that? Well, brave new territory here, folks. Let's have a look if we can do a V cancel and look at extending this combo just a little bit. Nothing too swag. There are definitely ways that you can swag these combos out and really get maximum damage, but I'm not looking to show that off. I'm just looking to show the possibilities that you can explore with your own character. So let's try V canceling off the second hit. Suddenly a lot more hits and a decent chunk more damage off that V cancel. Also, it allows us to use the first two hits as a confirmation, and that's a process which is known as hit confirming. So if you confirm the first two hits, you know it is then safe to activate your V trigger and go for the damage. Whereas if I just activated my V trigger from over here, there's no way to know if I'm going to be able to actually get these hits to connect against Chun-Li, because obviously with my V trigger now on the table, she's probably going to start being more defensive and giving me a chance to kind of run that out by myself. Also, you can even use your V trigger to cancel into super as well to really maximize the damage on those combos. So let's give that a try. Okay, so you can see that we used the V cancel to set up our super and got almost half a bar of damage on Chun-Li, which is obviously spending 2 bars there, so you do want a bit of razzle dazzle for spending both your critical arc gauge and your V trigger as well. But you know, for half a life bar of fully confirmed damage off the first 2 hits, that is absolutely worth it, because guess what? If we just do these 2 hits and she blocks the first 2, we know we don't have to V trigger after that. We know we don't have to use our critical art after that. There's nothing random about it. We are guaranteed that damage so long as she does not block the first 2 hits. And that is really key to being able to maximize the value and usage you get out of your meters. Anyways, guys, I hope you enjoyed. I hope this was useful. If you have any more questions or anything else like that, please leave them in the comments below. Please like, subscribe, share with your friends, use your social media currency to get this out and about, because I really love helping people with fighting games, getting them into fighting games, giving them tutorials, things like that, because I want to grow this community. I want you guys who are new to fighting games to enjoy this stuff as much as I do and to be as passionate as I can. So maybe someday you'll be the ones making these videos and helping share them with other people. That's it for me, guys. Thank you very much. Kisses, hugs, belly rubs. I'll see you guys very soon.